Beyond the Winning Post is brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Clare McGowan is an in-demand equine physiotherapist. We caught up with her at Nigel Tiley's Racing Stables at Pukekohe Park Racecourse. Clare, what is an equine physiotherapist?
It was a concept I came across in England when I was working with the top eventers, and just like a human athlete would have a physio and someone to check the muscles. I always thought you sort of went to a vet or to someone to help you with your horse when it was sore, and these guys, you know, I was lucky enough to work for Mark Todd and people like that. They were like, no, it's all about maintenance. It's about keeping the horse happy, making sure that sore muscles don't become a factor in the horse's performance. Most of their work was maintaining the horse as an athlete, keeping muscle tension to a minimum, and taking away any of the areas of stress points where you get those knots. And it was quite a novel concept for me because I'd never really been introduced into racing. It was very much a sport horse thing at the time. And then I met a lady called Mary Bromley, who was the first person to ever introduce physio, and she was a human physio. And she decided to try it on horses, and she was the very first person in the world. Yeah. And so I was really lucky. I took horses to her for all these top riders, and then she told me I had a knack for doing it. Yeah. So I went away to college and learned how to do it properly. But it is just like a human physio, but more like a human physio for a top sports team.
Do the horses enjoy it?
They do, and when they first start off, obviously they're sore, and horses can't talk human language, so they perhaps been trying to tell the track whip rider or been trying to tell the groom on the ground that I'm sore, and that often manifests itself as a kick or a bite because they feel they're not being listened to. So the first time can be a bit dangerous, but after that, they often will back up to you. The second time, the third time, they'll actually be leaning into you, and then they get quite demanding. They actually tell you to do it harder, softer, do it here, back a little bit, and I find that really, really cool. They just really do appreciate it, and if you think of sort of like horses in the wild, their best mate's the one that they go up and get a scratch from, and so suddenly you're going in and saying, I'm not going to tell you off for biting and kicking, I'm going to say why, and then I'm going to touch you. And then you start talking their language, and oh, it's so rewarding by the third or fourth treatment. And particularly these guys who really do know me, who I do every single week. Yeah. There are certain horses that I can't do out of order in certain rows. They get really cross. They think they should be the first one to be done. So if we start with this horse. We do two things. So we've talked to the trainer if there's any particular problems, but if it's just a general check over, through working with Mary Bromley, we've developed something called body mapping. And so it's pretty amazing how within a certain job, a thoroughbred will always show me that it's got sore feet by getting a knot in a certain area in its shoulder. Okay. Or if it's got a sore knee, it gets a knot in a certain place in the shoulder. And it's so specific, I can tell you whether it's the knee landing on the ground or the knee bending as to whether there's a problem. So we do a full body map, which is just to check everything's out. So we would always come into check the mouth, because particularly in these thoroughbreds, they're just changing all the time, their teeth. And we use the jaw joint here, which is much higher up than a lot of people will realise. And if there's anything going on in that mouth, she won't let light pressure. So at the moment I'm pressing both sides and you can see she's fine. We come up through here, because a bit like us, they get tension headaches, and so there's two little muscles here, and we just check that she's actually feeling okay and that there's no collection of stress in there. Often you'll see in horses they've got wrinkles under their eyes, and that's another sign when you walk in to say, oh, something's happened to this horse. So she's nice and soft there, you can see her eyes closing. So she's pretty stress-free at the moment. We start coming down the neck, and so as well as actually doing what we call a body map, just feeling the muscles, feeling whether she's hydrated, particularly with this humidity in Auckland, we get a lot of horses having hydration problems. So we're feeling the texture of the skin, we're feeling whether the muscles have cleaned out, as well as doing what we call our spot area, where we're checking, are your feet okay, are your shoulder joints okay. So there's a little area here that if they've got sore feet, that if you touch, they will immediately bring the leg up and they will tell you. So she would get this body mapping all over, and we'd check all the points. If we found nothing to be worried about, we would then start going to the stress points in her muscles. So she always gets tight here. You can see there's a quivering in the shoulders. And unfortunately for her, it's right where the jockey sits. So she would get some almost deep massage, deep tissue work through there to actually get her to release those.
She's liking that.
Yeah, she gets quite bossy with me, this one, and tells me, so this is telling me to go further forward. The lips are telling me to go deeper. If the shoulders are freer, it might just add that much to a stride length, and in a mile race, that could make quite a difference at the end. So it's not all about just finding the sorest spots. It's actually getting their body to work like an athlete and just getting the maximum out of that horse. I can't change genetics. If they're born slow, I can't make them faster. But you definitely can make them, with this sort of work, perform to their full potential. And even if it's just, you know, she likes being massaged, she's going to finish today with a lot of endorphins through her body, feeling happy. She's going to eat well tonight. So, you know, there is the mental side of it too.
Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do it? My initial thing when I came to New Zealand was to be a spokesperson for physio. I wanted to introduce people to it. I wanted to stop that people being derogatory to their horse. You know, he's just a pig, or he's a naughty horse, or do you know what I mean? I wanted people to just have another aspect as to why a horse might be behaving in a certain way. And I was really on a mission to go to pony clubs and teach kids that, you know, ask why your pony's stopping, don't hit it because it's stopping. And now, 25 years later, when I see that has filtered through, it's not so much my lifelong ambition or why I do it. Now I do it, I think, because I've just got invested in helping the trainers, being a, being just a sounding board, someone they can ring up with their blood test, someone that they just think the horse is a bit grumpy or he's not eating, and just becoming someone that comes as part of the whole solution to getting a horse to be happier. And it sort of has changed over the last few years. You know, I work incredibly long hours and sometimes get home late at night and I'm thinking, why do I do this? But then there's always a horse that you want to help, or someone ringing up with a problem the next day. And every time I talk about retirement, they're all like, you can't do that. The most rewarding is the relationships you get with the horses. So, you know, you come here on a Wednesday and every horse knows me. I know every horse. They're all sort of friends of mine, and I get to know them, and watching them on the TV and trying and seeing them happy, seeing them come in grumpy, particularly in our stable where we got a lot of sore horses, and seeing that horse change from standing at the back of his box, he doesn't want to eat, he doesn't come forward and talk to people, to actually becoming a larger-than-life character who wants to be first to work and loves his work. That's just so rewarding. It's just absolutely mind-blowing how forgiving horses are. You know, they don't tend to hold grudges, you know.